be fired.
No, absolutely not. I mean, this is not the team of the 90s.
Quincy doesn't get cut. I think I'd probably end up in practice squad, if that was possible. Maybe they cut me and I'm playing for somebody else.
I couldn't make myself do it. I was just like, done.
We did not want to play. Cleveland was going to play. It was a lousy game. Should have never played it.
The success is undeniable, the popularity unequaled. Today, the Dallas Cowboys are one of the world's most celebrated sports franchises. It all began simply as an unlikely dream.
This is truly a fascinating story of one man's desire, Clint Murchison Jr., his passion for playing professional football in Dallas. And to do so, he assembled an A-team of professionals to help him. Tex Schramm, Tom Landry, Bedford Wynn, and Bill Wynn.
In the 1950s, football was already king in Texas. Colleges dominated the sports landscape, with the high school game having nearly as big an impact. Professional football, it was an afterthought.
Well, college football was very important, but pro football was hardly on the scene, so there was lack of television and so forth. But high school football in Texas has always been. I did read things about pro football and knew about it, but it wasn't so important. We didn't see it.
The NFL was so different then. I mean, it was, we'd go up to New York from Texas and people wondered where we'd been when we came home. So it was a different deal.
Professional football did make an attempt to launch in Dallas in 1952. It was, to say the least, a complete failure.
A brief flirtation in the early 50s with the NFL. The first team was called the Dallas Texans. It was shipped down here by an owner up in New York who'd gone bust. And they brought the team down there and quickly found out they didn't have enough of anything, players or money. November, they'd gone bust.
With that, professional football in Dallas seemed a lost cause. However, that early failure would not deter one man, a man whose passion for the game knew no bounds, Clint Murchison Jr.
Yeah, Clint had been eyeing bringing professional football to Dallas since 1952. He felt that Dallas, being a big up-and-coming city, really should have professional football there. He tried for the better part of a decade to get it here unsuccessfully.
He had access to resources and he had vision and he had the drive to get it done. And it was in spite of the league at that, y'all are probably aware of the league at the time. I mean, it was nothing like it is now, obviously. It was really like, baseball was America's game and football was like, big stepchild at the time. But Dad was just out there, just pushing really hard.
What are you going to do? Just sit and let it get shakier? We've got to either move or not move. Well, I'm not sure that you solved the part about getting shakier by moving in and trying to turn it, because you also run the risk of people rather than face up with their hell and forget it. Well, yeah, but we've got to either get on or get off. We can't. We got a lot of things to do.
Born to one of the wealthiest men in the world, Clint Murchison Jr. was a brilliant man who earned a master's degree from MIT, yet developed a profound passion for the rough and tumble game of football.
He was an enthusiastic participant, both in prep school and in college, but at a club level. He was never large enough or good enough to participate at a varsity football level.
He was just tiny, but he did intramurals and they had a pretty developed intramural system. And began to play football. It just kind of something clicked, and he just fell in love with it.
He was competitive, always competitive, but athletically he was challenged just purely because of his size. And but he developed a love for football somehow, and wanted to bring winning football to his beloved city of Dallas.
Joining him in this quest to own an NFL team was Murkison's close friend Bedford Wynn, who also brought legal guidance.
Well, Clint and Bedford were friends from 6 years old. And they took tap dancing together, if you can believe it. So they had been fast friends all their lives. And Bedford was always involved in football. And Clint had the money, and Bedford had the know-how. And his dad was an attorney in Dallas, but had a lot of connections in Washington. So Bedford was able to secure the franchise, and then Clint had the money. So it was a perfect marriage. Clint was painfully shy. Bedford was an overt person. And knew everybody's name, very friendly, outgoing. So I think that's what also helped their friendship and their business acumen mash together.
To assist them in reaching their goal, Murkison and Wynn hired former Los Angeles Rams executive Tex Schramm as a consultant in the fall of 1959 to help them navigate the NFL waters.
So he was a football guy. He knew how the NFL worked, had the relationships. He was hired, at the time he was working as president of CBS Sports, so he was kind of out of the NFL, but still had all of those relationships and the know-how.
My grandfather surrounded himself with a terrific group of executives, as did my dad early in his career. And so he did the same thing in football. So he wanted to bring in the best football minds that he could possibly find.
Are you going to be in Dallas next weekend?
This coming weekend? Yes.
You know where it's been at?
No, I don't.
Well, what I was going to say was I'm going to be in Los Angeles on Friday, and if you all are going to be there, like Saturday and so forth, I will stop by and, maybe where we've got some time we can sort of gather some little things up to we're only a week away from that damn,
well, give me a call on Wednesday and I'll find out.
All right.
Although it's hard to fathom today, prior to purchasing an expansion franchise, Clint Murkison and his group looked into buying an existing NFL team, which surprisingly included Washington.
And I think you can understand that. Vic says, damn it, go take a certified check to George Preston Marshall for $1.5 million. See what he does. This is the reaction. Everybody seems to think that Marshall will sell. I have no way of knowing.
He looked at, buying other franchises. I think it was looking for an opportunity for an expansion franchise would be offered in Dallas, and he would sell that and move on or something. I'm not sure.
Let me say this. This is something which I have nothing to base it on, although I feel quite confident this is true. Any club in the National Football League today can be sold within a month for $2 million. This I don't feel there is any question whatsoever about.
I do know that he had some interest in getting involved, perhaps purchasing the original football team in Dallas. He also made an effort to purchase the San Francisco 49ers at some point between the demise of the Dallas team and the formation of the Dallas Cowboys.
He was a goal setter, and just early on he would do things. He would set goals, and then as a young man, and then was religiously pursue them and getting them done. And I think bringing a professional football team to Dallas was one of those goals he set very early.
While Washington and San Francisco were seen as possibilities, more serious considerations were given to buying the Cardinals, a franchise that was failing as a second team in Chicago.
Frankly, I don't think it's for sale at a reasonable figure, because it's a deal. It's listed $50,000 to $100,000 a year, and presumably will continue to do that. If it's moved out of the city, it'd probably lose more than that. Well, no, I think I don't know how I can. The Cardinal Club personnel-wise, there's not that much difference between that personnel and the personnel on the better football team. Yeah, but it's the personnel, it's the market. Well, but it's your drawing power is what you're talking about. Yeah, but I mean, if anybody bought that thing, the figures he's talking about, you'd have to lose it so much you couldn't leave it there. Well, no, hell no. You sure as hell couldn't lose it. Why? Huh? Why? Because it's going to be he'd lose too damn much money here.
The Chicago Cardinals at the time was run by violent Walter. They were vehemently against expansion. However, they were looking to potentially sell or move their team, because in Chicago at the time, whichever team, the Bears or the Cardinals, was the home team, that's who got the TV revenue that week. They wanted to stay in Chicago, but they realized, we're probably going to have to move if we want to make some money.
Start a new franchise here. What do you think the difference in the operation would be? Why do you think the Cardinals would draw any more in Dallas than a new franchise? Oh, because hell, we've got a football team. We've got Linden, we've got Cole, and hell, you've got a made football team that could win 8 ball games next year. Yeah. I mean, hell, I would never hold out the promise that you could make money. But I will tell you this, there would be a remote possibility that you could make money next year.
In the end, however, come hell or high water, Murchison was going to bring his own expansion team to Dallas.
He had these resources just part of the game. Just like, for him, it was like they were to be used and enjoyed, and not like locked away somewhere. And so he just took advantage of what was there for him and ran with it. Nobody was there to really slow him down.
Tired of his attempts to bring an NFL franchise to Texas as well, local businessman Lamar Hunt announced plans to start the American Football League, with one of the teams in this upstart rival league being based in his hometown of Dallas.
Of course, as you know, Lamar Hunt his family's like some of the richest oil people in the world here in Dallas. So he pretty much bankrolled the entire league on his own to start with. And that, I think the threat of them being there was the reason, this is my opinion, that the Cowboys were put in here so quickly as a block.
Once we had the AFL starting up in Dallas and Houston, that's what really prompted certain people in the NFL to see that, hey, we need to get into these markets to compete with a rival league.
That sudden interest from the NFL prompted Murchison's group to push forward. Long before Dallas was officially awarded a franchise, though, Tex Schramm went about the business of building a team. His first move? Hire a former baby photographer who was an up-and-coming scout for the Rams and 49ers, Gil Brandt.
What would you have him doing, Jay?
Well, he will right away. The first thing he'll do is start looking at the Rams draft information next week, so that we're familiar with it before the draft. And he'll organize a crew of 4 or 5 guys to go out immediately at the conclusion of this draft and find a worthwhile player.
Yep. He wasn't affiliated with any specific team. And I think that was very appealing for Clint to say, we're dancing around, trying to grease these wheels and get this expansion through, not trying to upset or offend anybody, trying to sway people's minds. So having somebody independent that wasn't biased to any team or owner or faction was helpful for them. They were getting just pure, unbiased scouting evaluation of talent.
What happened is Tex called me in October of 1959. And he said, Gil, I got a job for you. He said, now the first thing I want you to do is get as much stuff that you can from the Rams without them knowing you're taking it, so that we know what free agents to go ahead and sign.
I have got a deal where we are covered on draft information, where I have access to all the Rams draft information as soon as this January, as soon as this November draft is completed. And then if we are to be allowed to select from players that have been drafted, they will give me the information on all of the players, all the information they have on all the players except the players that they personally drafted.
Well, you couldn't ask them any more there.
And so we're completely covered now on all the information we could ever need. We just with the information that's being possible to duplicate. So that problem is out of the way.
And he encouraged Gil Brandt to work with him and develop scouting and information of players and trends like nobody had before in pro football.
After meeting Schramm in New York, Brandt's next stop was Dartmouth University, where he signed the organization's very first player, halfback Jake Crowthermill.
We signed him for $7,500, no signing bonus or anything like that. And I couldn't wait to get out of the house because I made this big conquest. And I went across the road to the Big Bear Inn or White Bear Inn or something like that. You have to drop $3.75 into the coin machine. And I said, hey, Tex, we just signed our first guy. How much do we pay? Well, we paid $7,500. I can't trust you. We'll be out of business. Because we've only been paying $5,000, $4,500, $5,500 to a player. So now, we're $2,000 over the high side is what it was. And so that was the first player that we signed.
Brandt would go on to build a network of college sources across the country. And while those connections would eventually pay huge dividends, getting players to actually sign back then proved difficult.
But the greatest thing was, well, what's the name of the team? Well, we don't have a team name right now. But we will have one. But we didn't even have a franchise.
Despite Brandt beating the bushes for potential free agents, what the franchise really needed was a star, someone it could build around, someone who could draw fans. Someone like SMU All-America quarterback Don Meredith.
But win or lose, the Ponies never lost the passing touch of dashing Donald Meredith, and here he is in action again. A most amazing fellow.
He kind of came up around October, and then around November, what happened is George Halas, everybody was banking that they were going to get the expansion through. They didn't know, and it was kind of a rocky road. No one was really sure. But they wanted to be prepared in case it happened. Halas knew the most important player in the field was your quarterback. he decides we'll draft him in the 1959 draft, or that November, for 60, and we'll hold him for you. So the Cowboys signed him to a personal services contract. Hallis signed him to an NFL contract. But it wasn't free. We still had to give the Bears a third-round pick in that case.
In the case of Meredith, who may not want, tax-wise, it may not be good for him getting first year salary plus signing bonus all in 1 year. Yeah. Or the salary, or the large salary he'll be getting over his goals each year, is to work out a deal of where, like, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 are expenses to him for promotional duties. Right. 12 months out of the year. Yeah. Well, of course, we're going to have him on a salary the rest of the year, too, so that can be worked out. All right. Right. You don't get him from there. No. In fact, we had a meeting on him this afternoon, and we'll have something busted on him by a week from the break. All right. Wonderful.
The Dallas franchise signed the star quarterback to a personal services contract on November 28, 1959.